Why do they never go in for me? Hey music lovers, yes, I'm back again with yet another video. This time it's something a little bit different. This is the first video in a response to a video on James Griffith's channel where he had a guest on, Jolien, who showed a load of British guitar, not just guitar, but no, it was guitar stuff, British indie music from sort of late 80s to the early 90s up to and through Britpop. Now, I'm not going to address that video at all, but what it's done is it's inspired me to record my own series of videos. And I thought what I'd do is go through what indie music means to me, or meant to me at the time. This isn't going to be a authoritative overview of any of the scenes or genres or records that I'm going to cover. There's going to be gaps because there was gaps in what I bought. There's going to be omissions just because I feel like it. If I miss anything or things that you feel that other people should know about, then of course that's what the comment section are for, or is for. Anyway, so this is the introduction to what I hope will be a series of videos, providing I can get my finger out. British indie and me. I can't really think of another title for it, to be honest, but here we go. So, up until 1983, I was listening to chart stuff. I mean, I didn't have any access to get I didn't even know that indie music existed, to be honest. For me at that time, I was under the impression that if it didn't reach the top 40, then it wasn't any good, which is just ridiculous, to be honest. But that's kind of where I was at when I was 12, 13, 14. I mean, the early 80s, we were spoiled for music, from two-tone through all the synth pop, post-punk that got in. All kinds of stuff was getting in the charts in the early 80s, and I think it was a magical time for music. But I didn't realise that was this underbelly of outside of music almost. It was not popular. Still sold fair numbers, but it wasn't generally accessible that easily, even on the TV. Which kind of concentrated on more mainstream stuff, or stuff that was in charts. So before that time, I was listening, you know, when I first started buying records, I started buying things like Madness, The Police, The Jam, stuff that was really popular at the time, stuff I liked, the odd pop single, Adam and the Ants I liked. But then in November 1983, I had one of those, you know, you get those moments when suddenly something clicks and something happens and it throws you onto a new path. So I was watching Top the Pops in November 83, and it was the usual, you know, rundown of the chart. And then something came on and it just completely threw me. I just thought, what was that? What was that? And that song was The Smiths' This Charming Man. Now, this set me on a path that I'm still carrying on to this day, to be honest. It's searching out alternative music, searching out stuff that's non-mainstream that nobody's heard of. But this was the first thing that really piqued my interest in indie. This is a 1992 reissue on WEA after they got their mitts on the Smiths back catalogue. So I saw Morrissey and the Smiths and Johnny and the rest of the guys perform this on Top of the Pops, and he was swinging the flowers, and it was just absolutely amazing, mind-blowing to me. I think I was 14 at the time. Totally mind-blowing. Such a glorious guitar hook in this song. Morrissey's vocal delivery, which was not like anything else I'd heard up to that point. Amazing, blowing my mind moment. So I tried to get hold of this at the time, but it sold out everywhere. You could not get this. I mean, this was before the time when I used to go rooting through record shops all over London. I was, I went up to my local R Price and tried to see if I could get a copy, and I couldn't get a copy. So I had to wait to actually own this till Hatful of Hollow came out. But this was the first thing that really opened my ears. So I started buying Smith's records, mainly the albums at first, but later I bought the singles. But really, they deserve their own video, so I'm not going to go any further into Smiths other than state this changed my life. This record changed my life. Right. So I was still, it's still chart music, and although I loved the Smiths and This Charming Man Blew My Head Off, I still hadn't really delved down into indie music, and it took a few more records to come out before I actually did that. The next alternative song that really blew my socks off was this one. So this is She Sells Sanctuary by The Cult. So this was their first top 40 song. So I was still listening to charts. I think I'd started diving into the weekly music papers at this point. So I was starting to get a bit more aware of what was going on. This is still one of my favourite songs. I still regularly play this. Absolutely amazing. And the video with Asbury swirling scarves around and the Anadin brothers from Doctor and the Medics doing... No, was that their one? No, they weren't on that video. What am I talking about? Billy Duffy playing his big white Gresh in a perfect paisley shirt. Jamie Stewart thudding along on the bass. And it was Mark, what's his face from Big Country on the drums. But I didn't take much notice. It was Asbury. My eyes were on Asbury. And this was another seminal moment in my musical development. Fantastic record. But still didn't really dive into buying indie records, like records that were outside the top 40. That actually took a couple more things. So when I was probably 16 now, I got hold of a copy of this. Now this is the one that got me into investigating bands that were a little bit harder to find. This wasn't, I know I lived in London, but it was still difficult to find a lot of these bands that I'm going to talk about. You had to actually make a trip to a record shop. There was no internet, there was no way of sampling any of these. You had to go and buy them to actually listen to them. Apart from hearing the odd thing on Peel or Kid Jensen, the evening Radio 1 stuff. So this is the NME C86 album, originally released as a mail order tape with the NME. I have to say I didn't read the NME at this point. I thought they had their heads up their arse, to be honest, for most of the time. I was definitely into Sounds and then Melody Maker, to be honest. Well, Melody Maker could be more pretentious, I don't know. But anyway, I couldn't click with the NME apart from this. I've talked about this loads, but this really did get me into investigating all these guitar bands. What I love about C86 is, although C86 now has come to mean sort of white men playing guitars in a kind of shambling, jangly fashion, it was so much more than that. You had all kinds of stuff on here. You had the exquisite surrealism of Stump. You had the Joy Division-esque Mighty Lemon Drops. You had the rhetoric of Mackenzie's and Big Flame. You've got the gorgeous girl pop with fuzzes, we've got Fuzzbox and we're going to use it. You've got the Wedding Present here. You've got the Half Man, Half Biscuit. I mean, Shop Assistants. There's a lot of female-fronted bands on here. It wasn't just a blokey thing, which is another thing I liked about C86. But all these tracks are brilliant. Age of Chance, with a bit more of a kind of non-rock approach. Well, they were still pretty noisy at that time. But this really opened my eyes up to indie music, and I started on a journey that, to be honest, I haven't really stopped doing, to be honest. I still love indie music. I mean, at this point, if somebody had asked me what my favourite kind of music was, yeah, I listen to a lot of metal. Yeah, I listen to sort of Motley Crue and Metallica I was listening to at the time, Slayer and other stuff, a lot of classic rock, Zeppelin and stuff like that. But if you pin me right down, I would have said that indie was starting to become my favourite music. So we got that. A little bit later on, I also picked up this tape, which further led me on other routes. So this is Indie Top 20 Volume 1. This was only released on tape. Love it if they re-release this on vinyl. Be so up for buying a copy. So this was quite a long-lived independent response to the Now albums in the UK. You'd get 20 tracks from the recent Indie Top 20 chart and bung them all together. And this just shows up the diversity that there was on offer in the Indie Top 20. You've got loads of C86 bands like the Flatmates, BMX Bandits, Thousand Violins, Soup Dragons. Then you've got Goth, you've got Rose of Avalanche, you've got Ghost Dance, you've got New Order, probably the first Joy Division track I owned. There's a Peel Session version of Transmission on here. More Half Man, Half Biscuit. Wedding Present are on here. You got some Grebo with Populi itself. There's some Manchester Funk with a Certain Ratio. Fantastic range of subgenres of indie, and these things were a lifeline, to be honest. When you didn't know what on earth you were going to be, what you wanted to listen to, you got this plethora of music just hitting you like a wall, and this is a way through it. So those 4 releases probably are the ones responsible for my interest in indie. Kind of led me on various paths for the next at least 20 years probably. I mean, the music scene is a very different beast now. Anything's up for grabs, but that time, these were my roots in. I thought I'd just round up with a few records, round up my intro with a few records or tapes or whatever that don't quite fit into where I'm going to go with these videos. They're kind of more, some of the C86 stuff, actually they are quite, so I'm wittering now. So what I went to next was, at this point I hadn't really hit creation in a big way. I did go out, because of C86, I did eventually go out, I think this might have been about 88 I got this, but this is Primal Scream's first single, Crystal Crescent. And I did go out and buy this. I remember buying this from Crouch End. A little bit, it needs a bit of a clip. Oh dear, look at the impacted dust on that. It's disgusting. Right, so this is the one that had Velocity Girl on it, which was one of the best tracks on C86. Just, oh, what a track. I mean, it's only about a minute long. Is it actually just over a minute? I'm not sure, but it's beautiful. It's just one of those guitar tracks that's just glorious. Says what it's, does what it says, and then just goes away, and you just play it, put the needle back on the record and play it over again and again. So it's Crystal Crescent, which is a good track, not as good as Velocity Girl. And then you got the instrument. Was it an instrumental? Anyway, you've got Spire X, which was later used by members of Primal Scream who left and set up their own band. So that was a direct response to C86. Then what happened was C86 bands, some of them started to have some success, and they were releasing their own records. I guess, what did I get into first? Yeah. Creation Records, I wasn't at this point that into Creation Records, signed a deal with, I think it was WEA actually, to form an offshoot called Elevation. And I think they only released 2 albums. And one of them was this one, which is another Primal Scream. This is Primal Scream's debut, Sonic Flower Groove. I think I've talked about this as well, me wanting to basically look like that. And I did look like that for quite a while. Same shirt. Didn't have the leather pants though. Just tight black jeans. So this is total 60s retro pop, sort of taking its influence from things like Aftermath. First song I heard of this was Imperial. Was it Imperial? Yeah, it was. No, it wasn't. It was Gentle Tuesday, for which I do have the 7-inch single. But you can tell the kind of look they're rocking there. Played this to death. Absolutely loved this. Things like Gentle Tuesday, Imperial. There's a song called Aftermath on it, so there you go. And then also around the same time I did pick up this, which was the other release on Elevation, which is The Weather Prophets. They were originally called The Loft, and they released some seminal Creation records, of which I think I've got a CD now. Got that much later though. But this was released in '87, called Mayflower. Lovely jangly pop, great lyrics. Really deserved to be much bigger. Kind of like a almost Lloyd Cole-esque before Lloyd Cole really got going. Because I think Lloyd Cole took a big influence from that kind of mid-80s jangly rock that was going around. Love this as well though. Tracks like Why Does the Rain, Naked as the Day You Were Born, Almost Prayed. Big influence on what I was listening to. A couple of other bands who won't fit into anywhere else, who don't really fit into anywhere else other than sort of around up C86 stuff. Immediately after, or maybe it was about the same time as C86, Fuzzbox released this one, the Rules and Regulations EP. They were a raucous band. Didn't give a flying one. Just out to have some fun, make some music. Really don't think they expected to get anywhere with it, but they were just so much fun. This is, I've got the 7-inch of this as well, because that's what I bought at the beginning. But it's on the 12-inch. It's actually a one-sided 12-inch. I don't know whether you can, yeah, there we go. So you've got an etched side on there with the 4 band members. This actually was way more successful than I thought they were going to be. I mean, I think this one, Rules and Regulations EP, peaked just outside the top 40. Just shows the kind of stuff that could get in there. And I think this one actually did make the top 40. This is What's the Point. This was slightly later, 1988, after the Boston Steve Austin album came out. And I'm just showing this because there is a fantastic a cappella version of that Bohemian Rhapsody on there. You really got to hear that. It's just fantastic. That's Fuzzbox. And then the last band I'm going to mention, because I think they were just a fantastic band. The Sarkiest band ever to have existed. Just fantastic. So we got 2 records. It's Half Man, Half Biscuit. You got Back in the DHSS. And Back Again in the DHSS. You got things like, they celebrated the oddness of British pop culture in the late 80s. So things like 99% of Gargoyles Look Like Bob Todd. You've got the Len Ganley stance. Len Ganley was a snooker referee, famous for standing up absolutely stark rigid. F in Hell, It's Fred Titmus. And the song that got me into them the most was, I Hate Nerys Hughes from the Heart. I hadn't heard such vitriol against one person on record before. I mean, the band are from Liverpool. Nerys Hughes played one of the Liverbirds in a sitcom in the early 70s. So I don't know why they hated her so much, but it immediately grabbed my attention. And this one's got things like All I Want for Christmas is a Dukla Prague Away kit. It's got the seminal Trumpton Riots on it. Rod Hole is Alive and Why. Dickie Davis Eyes. It just celebrates that kind of forgotten pop culture now, almost. And it's a complete nostalgia trip for me when I listen to these. So there we go. So the first instalment in what I hope will be a series, gathering in various genres. I'm going to do Grebo, going to do shoegaze, going to do baggy, although that will probably concentrate on just one band, to be honest. All leading up to Britpop, and I'm going to talk about Britpop eventually. Anyway, so I hope that's piqued your interest. I hope you do tune into the rest of the videos. I hope I actually get them made. I know what I'm like with videos. Absolutely horrendous. Leave your comments below. I hope you start watching this. I really do. But it's going to be fun for me to do it anyway, because just putting everything in an order is going to be nice. Because in a lot of my videos, I kind of dodge about and there's no real flow. But this hopefully will lead you get a bit of a flow between videos. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Right, so thanks for watching me witter on again. And I'll see you all soon with the next instalment. Cheers, VC. Bye.